The first change to look at with Tien is to his full light auto combo. Previously, it was -4 on block. The full light auto combo now has more hit stop on guard. It's still -4, but I guess it just lingers there a little longer. I don't know. This is definitely a weird change, to say the least, where I would have expected this to kind of fall in line with some other hit stop guard changes where, okay, we're adjusting these so that the longer pause will tell you that this is a plus on block move, and the shorter ones will tell you that this is a negative on block move. And while it's certainly there longer, I guess the idea of this is to give you more time to confirm the block, maybe gives you more time to set up an assist call and make that easier. I'm not sure, but this kind of just doesn't strike me as an all-meaningful change. Previously, you needed to have your jumping unique attack, Tien's Ki Blast, connect with the opponent in order to cancel it into dot on ray. As you can see, my cancel into dot on ray came out way later because I had to wait for the Ki Blast to actually connect. If the Ki Blast whiffs, you don't get the dot on ray if you buffer the input. Jumping unique attack can now cancel into dot on ray even on whiff. So this is a bit of a change to Tien's neutral, and I could make the argument that it's actually a bit of a negative change. See, when you're floating around previously, you could pretty much safely rely on you never hitting dot on ray unless the opponent blocked your Ki Blast, right? But now, whenever you input this dot on ray, you're always going to get the dot on ray to come out. Granted, there is some flexibility here for yourself, considering that, there is some control to the float of dot on ray and other things like that. But I'm not entirely sure if that's what Bandai is targeting here. Maybe this is just a case of they want to make sure that, you don't get like double a Ki Blast, something like this. Or it could be that it's easier for you to confirm a solo Ki Blast on hit by canceling into the dot on ray earlier. Something like this, right? Where instead of having to wait for the hit. But I'm not entirely sure what exactly are turning with Bandai Namco's gears on this change. I mean, it might adjust the height of some of your combos because Tien is canceling into dot on ray earlier whenever he goes into dot on ray from JS, since now if you're buffering the input, you're instantly canceling into it as opposed to having the cancel result from your opponent being put into hit stun. There's going to be a few things that this definitely affects. His combos and his neutral. I don't know if this is a net nerf or a net buff. All versions of Crane Strike are now faster on their grounded version. So let's take a look at what they used to be. Light was 24 frame overhead, so pretty much comparable to 6M. Medium was slightly slower at frame 26. And EX was also frame 24. Now let's take a look at the new startup of all of the Crane Strike attacks. Light version is a frame faster at frame 23. Medium version is a frame faster at frame 25. And the EX version is actually faster than the light version now, and 2 frames faster compared to its previous version. So these should be slightly better overhead mix-up tools for Tien to go into, and the fact that you keep your air action as well as instant recover should mean that, in certain situations, you could reliably use these for a quick, hey, react to this overhead, and then go for a high-low mix-up afterwards as well. So this kind of seems fairly potent for Tien. This also should mean that there's some new combo potential for these moves. Off of JM at low hit stun decay, the light and medium version don't really work. The EX version does. So maybe that's something for you to consider, especially considering the EX version's ground bounce. So then if you got an assist or if you're in sparking and can special cancel, you should be able to extend this combo pretty easily, giving you some better air-to-air combo routing for Tien in some cases. You can also combo into the medium version, wrong input, off of JS at some pretty low hit stun decay. Maybe it's true for higher hit stun decays as well. You have to play around with these ones. I generally see Tien players end their knockdowns with the volleyball fist moves instead, but maybe there's some utility that Crane Strike can offer thanks to this increased startup. Or decreased startup. It's so weird to talk about like these moves when you want to say increase to signify something is better when really you need to say decreased in terms of startup. Sorry for that faux pas. The volleyball fist light version, when you're airborne, has a change that's a little weirdly worded in the patch notes themselves. The patch says, will now crouch when hitting a grounded opponent in the mid-air version. To actually understand this, as most of you probably know by this point, we should actually just take a look at the game itself. If you hit the opponent with this attack previously, it would cause a knockdown that was basically just an instant ground bounce. And there really wasn't much that you could do off of this particular hit. So ultimately, it kind of meant that this version of the move, outside of being a potential combo finisher, or just a means to bring the opponent down to the ground, meant that there wasn't a whole lot of reward for it as a mix-up tool. If the opponent blocked your double overhead jump in, then you were -5. So safe on block, but you would give up your turn. And if you did get the hit, then, you know, that's it. You pretty much just got the hit, and it was an instant air reset. And it seems like Bandai Namco wanted to buff this aspect of Tien's kit. Now that we understand how the old version of Air Volleyball Fist Lite worked, we can now look at its new behavior thanks to the patch. It will not bounce the opponent off the ground anymore. It will actually force them into a crouching position, allowing Tien to pick up combos. This is a pretty big buff for Tien's jump-in mix-up game. Now, every single time he jumps at you, he's threatening multiple overheads, and he could combo off of all of them, as opposed to just hitting you with a very gimmicky overhead. It can be a bit tricky to set up on the dummy, since this is a true block string, which is great. It means you can't just mash reflect against it and get him off of you. If you're going for a fuzzy guard low, this is going to blow you up and allow Tien to get a pretty good combo off of this. The damage it does is also quite high. 850 for a jump in JH versus 1,000 damage from a jump in Air Light Volleyball Fist. It's a pretty big difference in damage, and Tien can get some really good rewards off of this. I mean, any single situation where Tien could force you into a high-low mix-up, this is now yet another layer for him to add on into you, and makes him pretty terrifying. And he already had really good mix-up before. This is kind of just another crazy layer to add on top of it. So a very strong change for Tien, I would argue. The EX version of Airborne Volleyball Fist also has a buff to it, and it's to the startup. Previously, it was 13 frame startup, as you can see here by the frame indicator. Now, if you did this from a Tiger Knee input, because of the frames you needed in order to jump, this would add about 4 frames of jump startup to the startup of the move. So depending on your execution, this could be a 17 or 18 frame overhead, which, you know, admittedly is unreactable, but that's something to note when it comes to evaluating the move. Now, his EX Air Volleyball Fist is 2 frames faster. So it's 11 frames startup as opposed to 13 frames startup. Speaking from his combo game, this could open up new links for him, or allow you to combo into this at higher hit stun decays, whereas it could have potentially fallen out before. I generally don't see Tien players struggle to get this thing to work in combos, so maybe it's like a negligible change, but it also means that if you're doing the instant overhead mix by Tiger Kneeing the input, at worst, you're going to be about frame 16 if you're frame slow, and at best, it's a 15 frame overhead. Now, practically speaking, I don't think this fundamentally changes the effectiveness of the move. I mean, yes, it's definitely faster now, but I think it was already unreactable before, especially on console, where you already have 4.5-ish frames of input delay on PlayStation 4 Pros, which is what you're going to have players playing on in in-person tournaments pretty much all the time. So previously, it was pretty much unreactable. It's still unreactable despite this change. And, like, okay, it's there, and I think it's namely here just to buff combo routings for Tien, and to make sure that players can still link into it, even as Tien is pushing his combos to their utmost limit. So Tien players could confirm one way or another how effective this change is on both of those fronts. There's a couple of buffs to Telekenisis, namely to the attack startup as well as to the delay. So previously, Tien would call Chaozu and be plus 31. It would take 38 frames for Chaozu to actually attack with his Telekinesis. And you were able to act at about this point of it. So, you know, frame advantage here after a jump, Tien would actually be -1, meaning that if we try to do something like a solo mix-up off of this move, we'll set GT Goku to guard all, Actually, we'll say I did guard first only. As you can see, like, there's so much time for GT to move after this that if Tien went for some sort of jumping mix-up, it wasn't real. It was all fake. You could whiff punish the reflect attempt here, but that also meant that if you tried to go up for more pressure, if you were a little ways away, the opponent would have time to reflect. More to the point is what the enemy could do in an airborne situation previously. We'll set the dummy to jump, and we're also going to set them to just jump. You know, they would be able to recover. And of course, if you were doing this from full screen, more often than not, when I would be fighting TM players, it would kind of be a mix-up of, all right, you made me block this, and if I'm very high up in the air at like double jump height or super jump height, there was some RPS of whether or not I was going to try and contest Tien's approach by going for super dash there. Telekinesis is about 4 frames faster to start up now. So instead of being about a frame 38, 37-ish move, it's now a frame 34 option for Tien. This could potentially open up some new combo routings for him, where he, you know, combos you into a Chaozu call off of a hit stun. And they also could mean that it's just more effective to catch the opponent moving in neutral. Especially seasoned players who are used to having 4 extra frames to get, you know, to move around with the move. There's also less delay on the move, so instead of having about plus 27 frames of option to work with, Tien now has plus 33 frames to work with. This does still mean, though, that it's not like this is giving you real solo mix-ups or anything like that. For example, if we try the same demonstration as earlier, the opponent can actually still reflect, and in fact, their reflect isn't just going to be punished by a delayed jump-in like this. It will work against it. So it's not like all of a sudden Tien is getting true high-low 50-50s off of you using this move. It should just mean that Tien is able to more securely lock you down with the option and be able to move into his next trick while he has that block stun on you, getting closer to you, fundamentally changing neutral interactions. But I also think there's a little bit more combo potential with the move after Tien uses particular techniques on you. So we'll see what Tien players can cook up with this change. Tien's level 1 super, Tri-Beam, has a buff to its block stun of all things. Previously, you could see that the move was negative 20 on block, but, Tien was effectively safe more often than not when he would use this technique. Even a point-blank super dash wasn't in time to punish Tien here. Now let's take a look at the new behavior of Tri-Beam on the opponent's hit stop. You just plus 0 here. Tien's just plus 0 now. Which is another, weird element. Why is it that when we increase the hit stop on 5LLL, nothing changes about the frame data and, the behavior of the move is pretty much the same as it was before? But when we do it to Tri-Beam here, Tien is even safer than he was before. In fact, if you were to try to super dash at Tien with this new hit stop, check this out. Tien can anti-air you. Tien can 2H you for trying to do this right now. I don't understand why we're doing this one. This is a change that frustrates me a little bit because it kind of just feels like it supports scrubbier play where it's I'm going to throw out these safe level 1s. So, and because they're so safe right now, right? It means it's a lot scarier for you to even commit to a special move at all. Granted, Tien could really do this before, but if he was wrong on that guess, he was safe enough anyway. What difference does it make to have this change come into effect? It's also not like Tien is suddenly doing mix-ups with supers where, there's a Kamehameha coming out from a super, you DHC into Tien, he makes you block the Tri-Beam, then he's able to act because the recovery is all the same. It's just the hit stop on guard. There's more stopping your opponent from moving for longer. So it's not like new situations or new tech is opening up. This move is just even more obnoxiously safe than it was previously. Pretty much any DHC that you had before with Tien, if you had a DHC that, Tien wasn't safe after he did it, you could always just safely DHC into Tien to manage your team's life now. Which, okay, maybe that's, fair because you're dumping super bar to get this stuff out. But, I don't know. It's a change that doesn't really resonate with me, and I kind of feel like it encourages more annoying or toxic gameplay traits than anything else. It's probably my least favorite change of the patch for Tien so far. Farewell Tien has a change to it as well. Previously, if Tien was in Limit Break, you would have to choose between which of his level 3s you would go for, either routing into Farewell Tien or just going for the Neo Tri-Beam. That's not a cancel, that's just me doing the supers. No matter which way you did it, you couldn't make the two level 3s combo into each other, and it wasn't necessary for Tien to be able to do so. At least that's what I thought. It seems that Bandai thought nothing was more necessary to give to Tien than this. You can now DHC from Farewell Tien into Neo Tri-Beam. Why you would do that kind of eludes me outside of increasing your damage output while not having to resort to spending as many Neo Tri-Beam stocks. But it's just a bizarre choice. You still can't go into Farewell Tien off of your Tri-Beam. So you still have to go into things like Neo Tri-Beam. But as it is, right, if you do something with like 7 bars, you can hit the level 1, into level 3. If you could go into Chaozu from that level 1, then you would just have a, 7-bar TOD with Tien for, like, no reason. It's not like this does anything to actually shift Tien's power, because, like, he could kill you already. Most of the time, if he touches you when he's got this limit break on, you die at the Chaozu proc. Like, there's never a reason to follow up Chaozu here. Like, if a Tien player couldn't kill you with a Chaozu super in limit break off of their combo, they needed to look at their Tien combos again. Like, I got no idea what else to tell you. Maybe the starter mattered in some cases, but, like, it's here, you can do it. I'm not the biggest fan of the change because I don't think it fundamentally changes anything. But, if you get the hit and you want to meme on the opponent, you have the opportunity to do so. Much like the Telekenisis special move, Tien's B assist also inherits the decreased startup time. Previously, this was a 50-frame startup assist that gave you 40 frames of block stun. Considering the amount of block stun it gives, this was really subpar for the startup to the move. I mean, it could be there for a slow threat. Maybe you could bait out an opponent's very quick reaction to an assist call and punish them for it, but this genuinely didn't see a whole lot of play. The A and C assists were pretty much the two assists I would see players use with Tien. So, how much faster is B assist now? 6 frames faster, so instead of this being a 50-frame B assist, it's now a 44-frame B assist, with, of course, vertical tracking on the opponent. Still not sure how I fully feel about this in general. It should be easier for you to, fit into some combos, of course, but I mean, other assists will give you similar rewards on hit and on block for a lot less startup time in comparison. So I'm still not too sold on this assist, but maybe there's some enthusiast out there. Genuinely, I'm sort of surprised that one of the changes to this assist in the patch wasn't to let it build a full bar of meter for you when you drop it, like we see with some other assists like Ginyu. Don't do that, Bandai. That's not a suggestion. Tien's final change is to his C assist. Previously, it was a 55 block stun assist. And now for the increased block stun on C assist, which if you've been watching most of my videos so far, you could probably guess how much they've increased it by. 60 frames of block stun. So a very small difference, but it can open up some new mix-up opportunities for you. Tien has a weird update in this patch to me personally, just because there's some changes in here where I'm like, damn, that's a pretty good change. Like the Air Volleyball Light Fist now just giving you a full combo, thus improving his high-low mix-up potency to some crazy levels when it already was pretty good in the first place, to then being confused by the change to his jumping S, allowing you to whiff cancel into Dodon Ray, and is this supposed to be a buff or a nerf? Are we trying to kill players being able to consistently confirm into Dodon Ray with a safe buffer, or are we trying to just improve some combo routing that I'm not personally aware of? I feel like that's more of a knowledge gap on my own terms more than anything else. And then it's like, what the heck are we doing with Farewell Tien? What are we doing with the tri-beam change as well? Like, why is sort of like the question that I have right in here. Don't get me wrong, I don't think that Tien necessarily needed a whole lot of buffs in this patch. I think he was a pretty strong character previously, if not just a little, like, sauceless in terms of his combo routing before. He does a lot of damage, while still largely doing mostly the same B&Bs that he's had for years, and, you know, combos that were in the game from the start, of course, with a couple of modern Dragon Ball FighterZ modifications to them, thanks to system mechanic changes. So, he's pretty much the same character as he was before. There's nothing really new here for me to go tell you, hey, if you were missing this from the character, you got it now, outside of maybe the light volleyball fist change. You know, if you wanted his multi-overhead presence to be a lot more threatening, you got it now, and you don't even need to spend bar in order to do it. So, that's Tien for you.